As firefighters and paramedics, we respond to those on the worst days of their lives. And when they're at their worst, we have to be at our best. And to be at our best, we have to have our house in order. I'm running for president of the IAFF because we have to be united. United for the future of this great union, for the future of our jobs, and the future of our families.
It takes a lot to do this job. Grit, sweat, sacrifice, belief in the future. And there's never been a time when firefighters have been needed more. And one firefighter has always answered the call to leadership, Mahlon Mitchell.
We have over 62,000 people here. Right now, they're trying to eliminate our voice. They're trying to desensitize us. They're trying to discredit us, and they're trying to defund us. And we cannot let that happen.
I got my dream job when I turned 19 years old, and I never looked back. Firefighting is in my blood. It's in my family's blood. My older brother's a firefighter in Atlanta. My younger brother's a firefighter in St. Paul. One of our mantras is all hands working. Everybody on the scene is doing something to stabilize it, to make the lives of our community just hopefully a little bit better for that time. The future of the IAFF is here. It's time for us to stand up, rise up, and be united. It's time for us to be strong. We can do it together, with all hands working, leaving no one behind as we do as firefighters. Never forget that together we rise.
Mahlon Mitchell for IAFF General President.
All right, good evening, folks, and thanks so much for attending this town hall this evening. This is the last town hall of Mahlon Mitchell's Fresh Start Tour. My name is Taylor Ballhagen. I'm a staff member for Mahlon's campaign for general president and will be serving as MC for the call. Now, this is our 11th town hall of the campaign. We've had well over 1,000 locals in attendance so far, and we're pleased to see that this event has a great level of participation as well. This campaign is about making sure that every local across the union has access to their general president. Thank you for making sure you're part of the discussion and for being on this call. Now, a brief overview of the agenda this evening. First, you're going to be hearing from a local president on why he is supporting Mahlon. After, you will hear from Mahlon and then have the question to ask him questions directly. We will be using the raised hand feature, which I'll explain once we get to the questions, but that will allow you to talk directly to Mahlon. You're also welcome to use the chat box. We will be answering every single question and we'll stay on for as long as it takes. So don't be worried about a time limit or anything. Feel free to stay on and we'll make sure that your question gets answered before we conclude here. Now, before we get started, real quick, we just want to run a poll to see how many folks have been on one of Mahlon's town halls before, just so that we can sort of tailor the remarks to this accordingly. So we'll take about 10 seconds if you wouldn't mind filling out this poll. Have you been on one of Mahlon's town halls before? Looks like we're about 50-50 right now with about 10 folks left to answer. We'll give folks another 10 seconds or so here. All right, perfect. So looks like we have about 30 people who have been on a town hall before, 57%, and 23% have not, or sorry, 43% have not, or 23 people total. So welcome all the folks who are new, and we're excited to have you on one of these town halls. And of course, we appreciate everyone for spending their night who's been on the town hall previously. So once again, we'll get this started and kick it over to Mr. Ryan Hintz, the president of Green Bay Local 141. Take it away, Ryan.
Thank you, Taylor. Brothers and sisters, it's an honor to sit before you tonight and introduce Mahlon. So, just watching his introduction speech there still, gets the blood pumping to think 10 years ago in 2011 when Governor Scott Walker brought down anti-labor legislation on our great state. Act 10 is actually where I first met Mahlon. Sitting on the crowd, talking to one of my other Green Bay firefighters, and who's this guy? And he was actually on the state board with Mahlon. Like, that's Mahlon Mitchell, our next, our current state president. And Mahlon came during some pretty tough times amongst our state. He'll talk about that a little bit later, but to be able to see Mahlon over the last 10 years and the leader that I met that day, and to see him to the leader that he's become now, there's no other person I would rather see in our general president position than Mahlon Mitchell. Mahlon's the type of guy that big or small, it doesn't matter how big your local is or how small it is. You always have a voice. You're always going to be a phone call away. Quite honestly, I'm sick of politicians throughout the years that have given us the bullshit, whatever it takes to get your vote. That's a conversation you're going to get. Mahlon's not a bullshitter. I can honestly say throughout my years, especially my last 4 or 5 years as the president of Green Bay, every time I call him Mahlon, I get an answer and I get it right away. And he's not trying to sell me anything. He's always trying to help out. He's always trying to push us to be better in the state of Wisconsin and to help us out. Quite honestly, it's scary to think of where we'd be in the state without him. I don't want to think about that. And it hurts me to think about losing Mahlon at the state level, but knowing that he'd be leading our IAFF, it's well worth it. So pretty excited to see Mahlon, and where his campaign's taken off. I've been making phone calls for Mahlon since it started, and the momentum that he's been picking up the last month, it's crazy. They're really seeing the true leader that Mahlon is. I've all seen it. I try to sell you guys on the phone about Mahlon, but tonight you're actually going to get to hear it firsthand. Ask him the questions, and you'll get the answers that you want to hear. So, with that, I'd like to introduce our next general president, Mahlon Mitchell.
Thank you, Ryan. And just so everyone knows, not that you care, but my computer went on the brink the other day, so I'm trying to use my iPad. This is my first time using my iPad on one of these town halls, so I hope that it works out well. I'm trying to get my face in the screen here, but thank you, Ryan, and thank you all for joining us tonight. This is I think he said it was our 11th town hall. Is that right, Taylor? Total?
Yeah, 11th town hall.
Our 11th town hall. And looking at the poll results, a lot of you have been on our previous town halls. So the Fresh Start Tour, we're actually trying to I didn't want to just talk at you so much. I wanted to actually have more of an informal discussion about our great union and ask me the questions that you would like to ask and kind of go from there. So I appreciate all you that have been on a number of times. Those that are first time users, so to speak, or first time callers. Thank you for getting on, but this is not going to be me just giving a stump speech and then getting off. It's going to we're going to stay until the last question is asked and I answer it. I believe on Monday we were on a call for about 2.5 hours, which is fine. But anyway, for those of you who have not had a pleasure meeting, I am Mahlon Mitchell. I currently am state president of Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin. We're a state about 4,000 members, about 60 plus locals. I've been in that post since 2011. I also currently serve as my local president. I've been in that post since 2014. We're a local about 500 members. We have 400 members that are Madison proper, our state capital in Wisconsin, as well as 100 members that make up cities, towns, municipalities that are contiguous to Madison. We are not a county department, but we're kind of set up as a county local. I still currently serve on the job. I've been on the job for 24 years. I'm a lieutenant right downtown at our station, our central station downtown in Madison. And I actually still work on the job, still pull shifts. I have 2 brothers in the fire service. My older brother is down in Atlanta, Georgia, and my younger brother's up in St. Paul, Minnesota. So the fire service runs in my blood, so to speak. And not so to speak, it really does. But why am I running for general president of our great union? And a lot of you have heard me say it. And it's true. I love this IAFF. I love this union. This union has given so much to me and my family. I have 2 kids. I have a daughter who's 22 years old, who is a senior at University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh, one of our state schools. I have a son who's a 17-year-old junior in high school. My wife is a flight attendant for Delta. So we're always coming and going. But this union has changed the trajectory of my family, my brother's family, and my other brother's family. So I love this union, and that's real. But we're a union that is 324,000 members strong, of the best men and women that you could find, in my opinion, on planet Earth. We've organized 123,000 of those in just the 21st century. You'll hear some, my brother, who's also running for general president, say that we need to take back our union. I don't believe we need to take back our union from anything. I believe it's our union, and I know it's our union to make bigger, better, and stronger for right now and the foreseeable future. And in my opinion, we do that together as United IAFF. We're a union that's leading the way in so many things when it comes to our cancer research, our presumptives, SOP research, disaster relief funding, making sure that our members that are on the front lines, that we as a union, we have their backs and taking care of their homes and their families when they're out there when disaster strikes. Things I use and we use as local officers: municipal financial analysis, GIS mapping studies, as well as at the federal level, the Zadroga Act, safer grants and safer funding. Also, the way the IAFF got out in front of COVID-19, knowing that we would have members that would die and not make it through this pandemic. But the IAFF got in front of it, making sure that their families would receive the public safety officer benefit. And that it's a presumptive that if you do die or perish, that's a line of duty death. And the IAFF got in front of that. So we're leading the way in so many things. Matter of fact, I believe, brothers and sisters, that we are the baddest union on the planet. You look at our gold and black brand, it's coveted by wannabe officials, elected officials, and current elected officials across our two great countries that we serve in Canada and the US. So I believe right now that we need a leader. We don't need a savior. We have so many challenges ahead of us. COVID-19, we're all dealing with across the world. Civil unrest all across our country here in the US. Our brothers and sisters dying of cancer at crazy rates. Our brothers and sisters looking at taking their own lives because of the cumulative effect over time of what we see on our jobs. So there's a lot of challenges that are ahead of us, but I believe that we have a lot of opportunities as well. And looking at and I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, but looking at the makeup of this next Congress, once we're done with all the noise and all the impeachment process and everything else that's going on, and we look at what happened at our state capitol here in the US last week, we're going to get through this. But when we get through it, where does the IAFF stand when it comes to Congress and comes to actually us passing collective bargaining rights? When it comes to us having better protections when it comes to cancer for our members? When it comes to us passing a PTSI or PTSD bill that will require workers' comp to pay for our members, healthcare and behavioral health treatment before it gets too late? When it comes to us having a healthcare plan that IAFF can administer? When it comes to us passing a bill that's currently in Congress right now, that allows public safety officers to buy into Medicare at age 55. Where do we stand once all the dust settles? And how do we move forward as an IAFF? Because we have a very small window to actually take care of business for the men and women who are working on the street right now as we sit here on this Zoom in this town hall. So we have a great opportunity. And I'm excited at the opportunities that we have as a union. Even though we have a lot going on, the noise and everything else happening within this country, there's a lot that we can get accomplished within the next 4 years. And I want to focus on that tonight and focus on what we can do as an IAFF. Not all the crap and all the bullshit, quite frankly, at the top level right now, but what can we do going forward in the IAFF? You know, when I became president in 2011 of the Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin, one of the greatest honors of my life. But we were at a crossroads. We had an asshole named Scott Walker, as you all probably recognize, that came in and said he's going to divide and conquer our state. He's going to come in and take care, and these are his words, he's going to divide and conquer our state. He's going to take care of public sector unions first, leave police and fire exempt, and then come after right to work later and divide and conquer our state when it comes to unions. He did exactly that. Wisconsin, if you didn't know, is a right to work state. A place where AFSCME was born in 1932 is now a right to work state. AFSCME had 63,000 members before 2011 in our state. They're now down less than 10,000 members. They thought that we would stand idly by and not come out with our brothers and sisters in the House of Labor, but we did, as you all know the story, I'm sure. And we stood up, we stood out, we were there with our bagpipes, our flags, our speeches, and our support to be there with our brothers and sisters in the House of Labor, because it's bigger than just us, even at that time than the IAFF. But we were at a crossroads at a state association. We had division among ourselves. And fast forward to today, for time's sake, we were able to get it back together. We did it as a team. We now have every IAFF affiliate here in our state actually part of the Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin, including the city of Milwaukee, which, if you didn't know, Milwaukee Local 215 is the biggest local in our state. And they are in our state association. They were out 26 years prior to any of the stuff going on with Scott Walker. But we brought them back in. We worked together, and we're still working together to get things done on behalf of our members. We started a charitable foundation from the ground up, $0 in the bank. We now have close to $1 million in assets and 2 full-time employees at our state office. We have an educational, political, and leadership conference that we now have 260 members come, because we're actually, when I became president, we have 40 or 50 members come, but I asked the question, why? Why is such a low attendance? They said we can't afford it. It was $300 a member. So we came back to the drawing board as a team at the state executive board. We made it free for 2 members from every local to come. We now have 240 to 260 members come. And all we did is raise the fees of our vendors, who are happy to pay it, because now they have more brothers and sisters to be in front of. And we cut and trimmed some of the fat at the top. We were able to I cut my salary, and we cut some of the other salaries at the top. We gave back $1 per member per month back to our membership. They in turn assessed themselves $1 per member per month. We started a statewide PAC that brings in close to $80,000 a year that we don't use just for statewide elected officials, but we use to give back to our local so they can play in local and county and referendum races. And we did that because it's the right thing to do. Because this union, in my opinion, is about the members. And I know we always say that, accountability, transparency, but what does that really mean? Anyone can say that, but I ask you to judge me on what we've done here in Wisconsin. And I use the word we because it's not just me. We did it as a team. We did it together. We don't always agree, but we worked together to actually get the job done in the Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin. I would have taken that same tenacity to the IAFF if I'm fortunate enough to be your general president, to make sure that we have true accountability, true transparency at the top level, but also make sure we get back to actually taking care of the members on the street and the men and women who do this job. And we have their backs. The IAFF is more than just a sticker on the back of our pickup trucks or our cars. It means that we have your back. And that's what the IAFF's about. That's why I'm running. And I think we should start getting into questions now, because I can keep talking, but I know we'll talk about a lot of issues, and we'll talk about a lot of things that you want to talk about for the future of this great union. But I'll tell you, I believe we need a fresh start at the top. President Shapeberger is leaving, and he's not seeking re-election. I believe that he should be able to retire with some dignity. I don't care who you are. You got to admit that he's done, in my opinion, a lot for this union over the 20 years. But it's time for a new chapter in this great union. And it's time for us to have a fresh start at the top. And it's time for us to get back together. We're not all going to agree on everything, but we need to be a united group, especially with what we're dealing with right now in the country. And make sure we're doing everything we can in our power to take care of our members. So that's why I'm running. I'd love to have your support, but Taylor, I'll kick it back to you so we can get into the questions.
All right, perfect. So real quick, folks, we'll just run through how we're going to do this. So we're going to be using the raised hand feature. That's located on the bottom bar of your screen under the participants button. Please click that and we will answer the questions in the order that they are received, and we'll be unmuting participants once we call on them. If that doesn't work or you can't quite figure out the participants button, sometimes it's a little tough. You can ask a question in the chat. We do prefer to have folks just talk directly to Mahlon over video. So if you want, just ask a question in the chat and then we'll call on you and then have them, or have Max, who's doing our tech, unmute you and put you on the video screen. Also, if for some reason we don't get to your question, or you think of a question after the fact, after the meeting is over, please just email Mahlon at mitchell@IAFF.com and we'll make sure that your question gets answered. Like I said in the beginning, in the opening, we will be staying on for as long as it takes to answer all your questions, and we'll be getting through them thoroughly. Also, if someone happens to ask your question that you were going to ask and you're satisfied with the answer, please lower your hand so that we can just get to some more questions and make sure that everyone is heard. So let's get started here. Let's see if there's any raised hands or any questions for folks. I'm seeing here right now. Doesn't look like we have any raised hands at the moment, but if anyone has a question, feel free to ask it in the chat. All right, we have one from Steve Berline. Steve, we'll go ahead and unmute you right now.
Hey, brothers and sisters, good to see you. I know a lot of you, I don't know of you, and I almost didn't get on this thing because right now, so I'm Steve Berline, president of Local 493 in Phoenix. Phoenix, we just started negotiations, but we also have 5 chapters, and we are a right-to-work state and 100% union members. We're really proud of that. And but we take, Mahlon, you just talked about accountability, and we take care of our own shop here, man. I think we're still, every year we receive a certificate from the IAFF. We are the leading contributors to FirePack. We're proud of that. We're going to sign up another recruit class tomorrow, and I guarantee 100% will contribute something. But I've been trying to, man, my blood's boiling. I almost didn't get on this phone call because I'm a bit pissed off, quite honestly, Mahlon. What's gone on with the IAFF at the top? We are absolute EDSO supporters, and last year about this time, he pulled us aside and had a one-on-one, and we got a heads up from him and our DVP that, you know, Shapeburger, what we were told, has stolen $1 million from the IAFF and needs to be investigated. I trust in any treasurer. They got a job to do, a role to play, and we listened to them. We're very disappointed, very saddened, but you got to let the process play out. We also trust in our executive board, Mahlon, that they have a job. They are the checks and balances. But at the time, I didn't know. I thought everything had to be approved by the executive board. So we know how it all played out. There's an investigation. A lot of money was spent to find out that our general president was actually receiving the $1 million they were talking about. He took was actually an earned benefit, a pension that he started receiving in 2000. So I wanted to know how much money the IAFF spent on this investigation, because it was damning. I mean, it literally, I think it's what took our general president. I think he's just tired and probably hurt. Whether you like him or not, you know, he's a member, and like any other union member, they earn benefits. Damn it, they should receive them, and every one of them, whether you think they're a good member or not, union leaders fight for their members to receive their benefits. And what's got me pissed off right now, I'm looking at this damn price tag that our members paid, and this whole thing began with our GST. He had the right to initiate an investigation without going to the executive board. You trust that if somebody's going to do something that extreme, they've dotted their I's or crossed their T's, and the findings that they say they're going to find are going to be found, especially after spending this much money. And I'm looking at a line item list of bills to the IAFF that initiated from Brother Kelly. He felt the need to hire his own law firm on his own. Hired him through his email, I understand. And Nelson Mahlon billed us for $281,000 mother effing dollars to find out nothing was done unethically or illegally. That triggered CBiz, another CBiz bill, another accounting firm working for Nelson. I'm looking at this thing, literally, I just got it. And we're into this thing, Brother Mitchell, for over $2 million effing dollars of our freaking dues money, man. I am so freaking pissed off right now. When we were in Cincinnati, my members were literally taking a dues cut. We were under concessions, and IAFF needed to raise it per capita. As we were taking concessions, we voted to raise it per capita because we trust they need it, and they're going to do right with our dues and protect it. And I'm so furious right now because 2 years ago in Seattle, everything was good. Everything was good. And here we are we've got a freaking mess in our hands. It was more than 2 years ago, but our GST told us everything good. Now we're on the hook for over $2 million, Brother Mitchell. You talk about we need a change of leadership. You're damn right. You cannot underscore the fact that we need an absolute change of leadership at the top. I'm so furious. I guess if I have to pose this in a question, as our general president, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do from keeping this ridiculous witch hunt from happening again on our dime? This isn't coming out of our GST's budget. This is coming out of my and my members' dues. When you talk about accountability, damn it, there better be some accountability here. Any other expenditure of the IAFF, if our executive board had voted and approved this, said we need to go down unanimously, I get that. But when one person can unilaterally spend $2 million or make it an allegation that costs all of us $2 million, there better be accountability and explanation. What are we going to do? How do we keep this from ever happening to IAFF members again? I'm sorry I'm so upset, but I just got it, and I'm going through negotiations. We're trying to squeeze pennies out of the city of Phoenix, and this was poor timing for me to get this report that I was hoping wasn't going to look as bad as it looks.
Well, brother, I'll tell you, brother Steve, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. And what we're going to do is actually be truly transparent. I don't believe that I don't think that anyone in any of our locals or state and provinces, any one of our executive board members, including principal officers, would be able to hire any outside attorneys without having an approval of an executive board. I mean, that's why we elect our executive board to be there. Everyone on this call, I don't know where every one of you are from, but we all have the ability to send delegates to the convention and elect our executive board members to represent us, whether you voted for them or not. There's got to be somebody at that table at the international level that represents you. And unfortunately, the hiring of the initial, and I don't have all the numbers, brother. I guess I would have to go through all of them, but as far as what I do know is that the initial attorneys, Nelson Mullins, and I'm going by the staff claims committee report. I'm not going by what I've heard or what I think I know. I'm going by the staff claims committee report, like what we all have seen, hopefully. And that is that there was an outside law firm hired to come in and look at our finances without approval of the executive board. If that were to happen, I'm a state and local president. I mean, if that were to happen, even me as president, if I were to hire an outside firm to look at our finances, that would not be appropriate. The executive board has to approve that at the state and the local level. So I can tell you what we're going to do. What I would do is I would do a comprehensive audit of all. We have a $75 million budget at the IAFF. $54 million of that is per cap cost. So there's a $20 million sweet spot. So we should know where that $20 million is coming in. We should know how it's being spent. We should actually know where every dollar is being spent. So I would do a comprehensive audit of the annual budget, which is done. But as we all know, an audit can say whatever you want it to say, depending on who's inputting the numbers. And I'm not blaming anyone or any malfeasance or misfeasance or non-feasance or what have you. What I'm saying is what I will do. And I will do a comprehensive audit of our budget. And I will release those findings to you, the local, state, and provincial leaders, not to the New York Times or the Washington Post or all these blogs that don't give a damn about us. The members should know where their dollars are being spent. And that's what I would do first. I would also make sure I would do the same thing with the pension plans at the IAFF. There's 3 pension plans at the IAFF. Those should be audited as well. And again, independent audit. Looking at assumptions, liabilities, and risks, that we all look at our own individual pension plans And again, our members should know where their money is being spent. And that should be released to our members, not to an outside agency. So when everyone talks about transparency, Brother Steve, and you know, everyone, it's an easy word to say. It's an easy word when you talk about accountability. It's words that are thrown around like butter, so to speak, like accountability, transparency. Every elected official or wanna-be elected official says accountability and transparency. But what does it really mean? Well, to me, it means you actually give the true, you know, we also talk about GAP, general accepted accounting principles. We give the true, we give the true outlook of our union, where it is good or bad, whether we're in the black or we're in the red. You know, here as president of Professional Firefighters Wisconsin, I realize that it's a very small microcosm of the bigger IAFF, but the issues are the same. We had a retirement plan that you would get vested at a certain amount of time. And if you're a principal officer, you will get more money into that retirement plan. If you're a board member, we have 11 board members, you would get money into it. And it took a certain amount of years to get vested. We couldn't afford it. You know, we could afford it when times were great, when we were doing fundraising and times were great. My first resolution I ever wrote as state president, and of course, bringing it to the board and the board agreeing with it, was to no longer have a retirement plan for board members. And just so you all know, the reason I did that, we all here in Wisconsin, at least, at the time had to be active duty firefighters and on the job or paramedics. So we're getting our salary as firefighters, paramedics from municipality. We're all in the state pension plan except for Milwaukee, but even Milwaukee, at the time, Milwaukee wasn't in when I wrote that resolution, but we're all getting a salary, we're all in a state pension plan, and we all get a salary or per diems from the state association. So I just thought that, okay, well, not that we're double dipping because they weren't, but it was just an expense that we could no longer afford as a state association. So my first thing to do, and I'm union in and out. We fulfilled the obligations of the brothers that were on the board prior to me, principal officers and the board members. We paid them what they were due. And then we ended up, my first resolution was to get rid of the practice of giving a 401k plan or the retirement plan to myself. I took it away from myself. And I've been on the board since 2009 here in the state. I would have 30, 40,000, whatever the actuarial, however the fund did, I would have that in the bank right now. But I took it away from myself because we were actually able to take that money and the investment money and the dividends that we receive from investments and give it back to the members and actually do things on behalf of the membership, because that's what this is all about, in my opinion. So to go to your point, brother Steve, and I take this job very seriously. I can joke around, and I don't always take myself very seriously, but his job is very serious, and what we do on behalf of our members is very serious. And transparency comes. It's not always easy to do, but giving our members the true snapshot of where our finances are is not always easy. So I'll tell you, I do a comprehensive audit of all our pension plans at the IAFF, as well as our budget, and release that to you. But I will also make sure that our members have a true knowledge of where our dollars are. And if we're in trouble financially, then we need to state that. You know, I look at what's happened in the last 4 years, in 2016, 17, 18, and 19. We didn't hear anything, quite frankly, about the pension plan, about the budget, but then we get this thrown not in our lap, but we get it thrown in the lap of outside agencies. And now we're in our business. There's a reason why billionaires are spending millions of dollars to take down unions. I don't believe that we should give them more ammo to do that. So what I will do is make sure that we are truly have accountability and transparency at the top levels of this IAFF. And that's why I'm running. I'm not running an anti-anybody campaign. I'm running a campaign about the issues that you brought up and other issues that we're going to talk about tonight.
Thank you, brother. We need it now more than ever. I don't even want to take this to my executive board. They are going to be hot. We'll stay united.
All right, thank you, Steve. Let's move on to Kevin Chapman, who has a raised hand here.
Good evening, everyone. Brother Mitchell, first, let me say it is very refreshing to hear just civility, especially when it comes to a race, especially one that's very contended and contentious. Um, my local, I'm from Bartlett, Illinois, western suburbs of Chicago. We've endorsed your campaign. Um, like Brother Berlin, I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Initially, we were Team Edzo as well too, and with everything that came out, and after actually doing our due diligence and really reading exactly what was said and what was done behind closed doors, we were concerned that there wasn't going to be a candidate that was worthy of running this great union. And I know your history. I came up to Madison to support you guys back in the Walker days. Thankfully, Illinois is not a right to work state, but one union altogether. My question for you is, over the last probably 5 to 10 years, maybe a little bit longer, our membership has become greatly divided. Um, you know, it's no longer, it's no longer what can we do to make ourselves better, our union better. It's who's a candidate out there that is, I follow their personal their personal beliefs and whatnot. And we've really gotten completely polarized as a union. It kind of matches what's going on in the United States currently. To get this union back on track and get us all united, what are some plans that you have to unify this organization? I thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for the question, brother, and thanks for your support. And I'll tell you, I every 4 years we have this same argument about who we endorse or who we don't endorse. And if we're gonna endorse, look, 4 years ago, the IAFF sent out a pre-primary poll and a post-primary poll, and didn't endorse anybody. And 4 years later, we endorse Joe Biden after about a day and a half or 2 days after he's in the race. So I will tell you that we will never make all 324,000 members happy. It's just not going to happen. We're never going to please everyone. We're never going to be able to ask every member what their opinion is on a certain candidate. But what we can do is that I believe we should have a baseline poll. And in that poll, it will serve a couple functions. One is it will actually educate our members on the issues. So we send out a poll via the district vice presidents through state and local officers to not just poll like a push poll where you like candidate A or you like candidate B, but actually talk about the issues that are confronting us as a union and us as firefighters and paramedics and our jobs. And within that poll, we have the issues that are out there. And in those issues, our members have to vote first, what issue is most important to you among, let's say, a litany of 9 or 10 issues. And then we correlate those issues with each candidate that we're talking about. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. But we take those findings, and those findings come back through the district vice presidents, state and local officers, through the International Executive Board, and we make a better decision, a more informed decision. But we've actually heard and listened to our members. And I'm not trying to make a rubber stamp committee, but I actually want to listen to the members. But we're going to have members that do not like, there were members that were mad that we didn't endorse anybody in 2016. There are members that were mad that we endorsed Joe Biden now and in this election cycle. So we're never going to have 100% agreement with who we endorse or we don't endorse or what have you. But I believe if we had a baseline poll that doesn't just talk about candidate A or candidate B, but actually goes back into the issues that are important to us in our jobs as firefighters and paramedics, that will at least make the process more transparent. And if members want to be a part of that process, they can be. Again, they're not all going to agree. And a lot of you heard me say it, we can endorse anybody. We can endorse Jesus Christ, and they would be like, I don't think we should be involved in religion, or I'm with Pontius Pilate, or I think we should leave Caesar's things to Caesar. I mean, our members aren't going to be happy all the time, but they should know what the process is. And if they want to be involved in it, they should have that ability. But it's upon us as leaders within the top levels at the IAFF to be able to convey that message and educate our members on why we endorse a certain candidate. It's not about gays, guns, and God. 3 Gs, I call it, or social issues. It's about your paycheck. So the union's asking you to vote your paycheck, and you can lobby your hobby, but we're asking you to vote your paycheck. And we're still going to have members that are angry about it, but at least they know the process is clear and concise and is transparent. So when I talk about transparency, that's one of the issues. And that's one of the things that I would look at changing right away. The IAFF does have an endorsement philosophy. If you go on the website, you can see it. It's something that we should send out to all of our members. And it talks about what I just essentially said, but I don't know if we all as leaders convey that to our members well. There is an endorsement philosophy that talks about just how we endorse, how the IAFF endorses any member of Congress or any member or anyone that's running for president or prime minister in Canada. So I just think we need to do a better job of educating our members and as to why we agree with a certain candidate and why. And I think the poll actually will do a better job of, because when the members do that poll, they're actually going to see our issues and they're going to have to answer the question and they're going to see what the top 9 or 10 issues of the IAFF are. And it's going to make them think. And then it's going to make them, whether they agree or not, it's going to make them think about, okay, well, is it Joe Biden or is it Donald Trump? Is it Hillary Clinton or is it Donald Trump? Is it Barack Obama or is it Mitt Romney that's better when it comes to the issues of our union and the issues of me and my health and safety on the job and our families? So I think the poll will provide a couple avenues for us to educate our members as well. And also they're going to be more involved in their union. So that's one of the first things that I would do if I'm fortunate enough to be your general president.
All right. It looks like we have Ed Priest. Apologies if I mispronounce your last name there, Ed, but you asked a question to me in the chat. Max, can we get the video set up for Ed Priest, please, for his question?
Hey, Mahlon, Ed Priest checking in Britain, Connecticut.
Hey, Ed, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, thank you. Best I can. Quick question, I'm not here to bust your balls. I know you know we're Edzo guys, and we endorsed them. But serious question, I know you give me a serious answer. Marty Walsh just moved down there for labor. Labor's our job. What's your thought on that? Working with Walsh as opposed to what Eddie could do working with Marty Walsh.
Marty Walsh, mayor of Boston. I've got an opportunity to meet him a couple times. Obviously, he is he comes from the laborers union. He's a great champion for labor. I think it's a great pick. I was happy to see it, quite frankly. And I think he'll be a great pick for Department of Labor. I knew Tom Perez, who's now the DNC chair, but when he was the Department of Labor secretary, as well as Hilda Solis in California, who was also a Department of Labor secretary preceding Tom Perez. So I think Marty Walsh is a great addition to the cabinet. And I know Joe Biden well. And I think all the cabinet secretaries thus far that have been given the nomination will be great additions to what we can do as firefighters and our great union in the next 4 years. So yeah, I like to pick. If that's what you're asking, I do like to pick a lot.
I was kind of getting at what's your, and I don't know, what's your working relationship with Marty Walsh? Or do you have one? And it's fine to say don't, it's okay.
I've never had to work directly with Mayor Walsh, but I don't see me having a bad or a negative relationship with him at all. I know has a great relationship with Local 718 in Boston. And I would see that continuing if I'm the general president. And I know he's had a very good relationship with President Shaper, as well as obviously, like you said, Brother Kelly, and Brother Kelly coming from Boston. But there's Department of Labor is definitely important, and there's no doubt about that. But the Vice President of the United States also endorsed me when I ran for governor in 2018. I have a better work relationship with her, but she's the vice president. And I've known her since she was the Attorney General of California. And she endorsed my campaign. I was actually the only candidate that actually had a sitting senator, especially obviously a popular senator, endorse the campaign here in Wisconsin. So I have a better work relationship with the vice president. I have a better work relationship with the president. And that's quite frankly where the rubber meets the road, because the decisions are actually made at the top level, and everything else kind of goes down, falls downhill. But again, I think Marty Walsh is a great addition to the cabinet, and I think he's going to do great things for us. But again, he can only do what the president says that he can do. And I have a better working relationship with the president of the United States, or soon to be president of the United States, than I do Marty Walsh, and I think that's more important.
All right, great. So I'm looking to see here. I think we got a couple questions in the chat here, but it looks like, Mahlon, I'm not sure if this is directly addressed to you, but this is in regards to.
Well, who would it be addressed to?
Well, it's a reply to one of Steve's comments. So I'll just read it out here. So Christy Kirby, we have saying, is that 2.1 million coming from union members as a whole? But I think that's in regards to the comments that Steve was mentioning earlier. So I don't know how we want to answer that question.
I think that question is addressed.
This report right now, I mentioned the report I asked for, and anybody should ask, either go straight to the IAFF or your DVP. But all this is just a breakdown of doesn't have the details of the cost, but I asked for costs associated with the investigation, which initiated with our GST's allegations against the GP. And it's just a breakdown. I'm looking at it right now. I haven't had time to really dive into it, but I don't know where that money comes from. It's IAFF money has got to pay for it. And the IAFF is funded with our dues. So
So there was, just to shed some more light too, I think I can, is that there were some expenses that were incurred, and in this whole last year and a half, 2 years of allegations of misconduct allegations when it comes to the pension, and President Shaberg receiving his pension as a staff member, as well as collecting a salary. ERISA laws all regulate that. They've changed. In 1997, they were one way. In 2018, they changed. But I think what brother, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Brother Berline, but I think what he's getting at is that, or the numbers he has, and I don't know, I'm just saying that there was lawyers and attorneys and outside counsel that was hired without the vote of our IAFF executive board. And those are the dollars. And I think the number that he's talking about is the entire totality of what has been spent on this issue. But there was, unfortunately, outside lawyers hired, unbeknownst to the executive board, who we all elect to be in that spot, by our GST. And that's in the staff claims committee report. That is public. So I'm not saying anything that's not public to us as members. The dollar amounts and everything, I don't know if they were specified, but I know that there was outside counsel. Nelson Mullins was hired. And they're an anti-union law firm. They are. I don't, people can tell me whatever they want. I know, I've dealt with them before. They're not a law firm that is for the unions and for us as members. That's just the facts. It's not alternative facts. It's just reality. So, you know, I just, we're better than that. We're better than this in how we treat each other. We're better than this on our jobs, in my opinion. We're better in this, how we treat each other. Not everything at the IAFF is perfect. I'm not here to defend Harold Shapeberger. He can do that on his own, and he has. And he's been doing this long enough to defend himself. And his work will speak for himself, even if he says nothing. And you'll make your own assumptions or opinions. But I'm telling you, as a union, I've been involved in this. I've been on the job 24 years. I've been involved in this union at 20 plus years in some form or fashion at every level. And I just know we're better than what we're at right now and what we're talking about right now. Because we're not even talking about issues right now. We're not talking about collective bargaining for all of our members across the country. We're not talking about cancer prevention and our PPE essentially giving us cancer and how the science is changing. We're not talking about our members who are suffering from PTSD. We're not talking about healthcare. We're not talking about our pensions. We're not talking about FLSA and how those attacks are coming. We're talking about internal conflict. And at the end of the day, who suffers from that? Our members who pay the freight for all of us to be leaders, who pay the freight at the IAFF, and this $54 million per cap budget that's coming in, and it's $75 million. Those are the members that we should be talking about. We should be talking about the issues that are about us. But what we're talking about lawyers' fees. We're talking about misconduct allegations. We're talking about non-feasance, misfeasance, malfeasance, whatever the hell we're talking about. And we're not talking about the men and women who actually do the frickin' job. That's a problem. That's why we need a fresh start at the IAFF, to get back to actually taking care of our members. Because this cloud is not leaving if Brother Kelly's our president. It's not. This cloud will still be here, and we'll still be talking about all the crap and the bullshit that happened over the last 2 years. People always say to me, like, well, when's the EPC report coming out? When's our Ethical Practices Committee report coming out? I don't know. They've released 5 issues, and the 5 issues actually can't come out because they're releasing, there's actually 16 issues, and some attorneys say you shouldn't release these issues because you're still under an investigation, blah, 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 whatever. I can tell you one thing about the EPC report. That's 100% fact. My name is not in it. I'm not part of an Ethical Practices Committee report within the IAFF. That's why we need a fresh start at the top of this IAFF. And we need to stop talking about all this bullshit and who's right and who's wrong. I'm actually, quite frankly, this is our 11th Zoom. This is all we talk about. That's why I'm running, because I'm sick of talking about the past and who's right, who's wrong. We will never move forward without actually getting rid of all of it and moving forward to actually talking about, we got 4 years. We have a very small window of getting collective bargaining done, of getting a bill passed that would require and prohibit municipalities from taking pension holidays when things are good, like what happened in Chicago, what happened in Milwaukee, what's happened across our country. There's all these pension entities, states, municipalities, and entities, provinces taking pension holidays because things are good. And who suffers? We do. Because when things go bad, like in 2008, we had the big market crash, they're looking at us and saying, well, you guys' pensions are too great. So we can't afford these pensions anymore. But it's our fault. We were paying the employee share. So I would have passed a bill that actually prohibits any entity, any state, any province, any municipality from actually taking a pension holiday. That's the shit we should be talking about, because that's what actually matters. And those are the things that protect our members. All this EPC report, I'm sick of talking about it. I don't know when it's coming out. And I don't care. I'm not in it. I want to talk about actually things that matter. Things that matter to our members that are actually going to change it. You know what the EPC report is going to do? Nothing. It's not going to change a damn thing for us, other than it'll say, okay, Edzo was right on this, Harold was wrong on this. Well, who gives a shit? What does that do for our members? Nothing. And that's why there's billionaires spending millions of dollars to get us in fights like this and battles like this, to fight among each other so that we can fight among each other, and we will essentially perish. I said it earlier, and I'll stop talking, I promise. 1932, AFSCME was formed in Wisconsin. 63,000 members in the state of Wisconsin, 63,000. They now have less than 10,000 members. And we're talking about an EPC report. This is what happens when unions fail to change. This is what happens when unions fail to reimagine our union in a different way for the future. That's where we're at right now. We will perish if we keep talking about internal conflict and internal strife. Because one, our members will be like, we're out of here. And two, we're just gonna have infighting. So I'll stop preaching, I'm sorry. But this is probably my last Zoom. So some of these questions are just like, we're just talking about back and forth. I'm here to talk about what we're gonna do for the future of our IAFF.
All right, we got a couple raised hands here. Kevin, I know that you spoke a little bit earlier, so we're going to go over to Michael Kalita before we hop back to you.
Small local president up in Ontario, the smaller local. I had the opportunity to listen to your first town hall where you invited the smaller locals, and that meant a lot. We did our due diligence like every other local probably in this great union. We listened to Brother Kelly, we listened to yourself. I'm proud to say that we brought it back to the membership, and we're proudly endorsing your campaign that was just decided at our last union meeting. The question I have for you, and it's a question that's been asked in the chat box there, at one of your last town halls, you spoke about possibly having a debate between the two brothers running for general president. Was that brought up with Brother Kelly, and what was his answer?
So I did bring up a debate, and I called Brother Kelly directly and let him know before I actually sent it out that I was going to do that. Actually, I didn't. No, I called him after I did the video and said, "What do you think?" And then we talked on the phone for a little while and said, let's get the particulars together. That was probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I actually got an email. We did some homework so that we could actually have a plan. And so I called E18, which is the studios at the IAFF. And they said it would cost about $3,000 to actually put in place. Well, me and Brother Kelly could be in front of a podium. We would have a moderator. Actually moderate, and we would decide, me and Brother Kelly, who the moderator is, just like we would strike an arbitrator. And it'd be about an hour and a half, and the E18 said they could do that and they could send it out, or we could do it live, and it would be like a Zoom type deal. But Brother Kelly came back and said that he would like to have the elections committee kind of govern that. And we had elections committee actually meeting today from 2 to 4 my time. And elections committee said unequivocally that they are not, one, it's not their job to do that. It's not within their area of responsibility to do that. And they're not going to do a debate. And I agree with that, because I actually don't think under LMRDA rules within a Department of Labor that they could actually govern that. What I think is, and what I know, is that if we wanted to have a debate, it would be mano a mano between him and I. And we would set the ground rules. We would choose a moderator, and we would pay the freight between our campaign committees. That's why we're raising money, and to be able to actually have the debate. And I think our members would want to see it. And we would talk about the issues that are confronting the IAFF and the future of the IAFF, our challenges and where we are as far as weaknesses, our opportunities that we have as well. I don't think Brother Kelly wants to debate me. I don't, because we could have done it already. I've given him, I said any day in January I would do it, anywhere, any place, anytime. So I'm going to reach out to Brother Kelly again now. After today, we got not a ruling, but essentially a firm stance from the elections committee that they're not going to govern any debate. But obviously we can do it if we want. Just like we're sitting here and having a town hall, me and Brother Kelly could be on a town hall, call it a debate, call it a forum, whatever, and we could take questions from the membership and get it done. I'm ready to do that. I hope he is too. And I am calling him out, saying, let's do it. And you're going to see probably a video coming from me within the next couple of days. But again, it's going to be after me and him converse and talk. And I would like to have a debate so that we can actually talk about the issues that are confronting the IAFF. I think it's only reasonable. We haven't had a GP, general president, contested election since 1988, from my understanding. So we actually have the means now that they didn't have in 1988. By the way, that was 3 years after the Bears won a Super Bowl, but I'm a big Bears fan. But anyway, we could have a debate, and we could do it very easily, especially with all these means that we have, WebEx or Zoom or what have you, to be able to get it done. So I'm looking forward to it. This is a long answer to your short question, brother, but I will do it anytime, any place. I'll do it in Boston. I'll do it in Florian Hall if he wants to do it there. And we'll have a debate, and we'll talk about the issues, because we're all on the same team at the end of the day. I don't agree with everything he's done. He probably doesn't agree with everything I say either. But at the end of the day, we're all going to be on the same team. We're going to come together and get this thing back on the right track. I'll do it anywhere. I'll debate him anytime, any place, anywhere. And whoever's in the audience, I don't care. It's just, that rhymed actually. Anytime, any place, anywhere, who's ever in the audience, I don't care. That was a rhyme. But anyway, I would say we debate right now and do it anytime. So I'm all for it. I'm going to keep pressing for it.
All right, so it looks like we have a question in the chat. This is from Brian Rose. Brian, do you want to just ask your question over the video?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. My question was, what's your personal working relationship with the candidates for Secretary Treasurer? Frank Lima, Jake LaMunda, and Greg Markley.
I know all of them. I know Frank Lima well. I met him back in 2009 at a Redmond symposium before he was president of anything, before I was president of anything. I come from actually the charitable side of the union shop. I was actually our burn camp director here in our state for, I was part of our burn camp for 10 years. I was our a counselor for 4 years, and then our director for 6 years. Burn camps that a lot of us have around the state, where we bring in kids, teenagers, and we have 7 to 17-year-olds that come in once a year. We fundraise all year to have the kids have a 1 week long burn camp. All kids have been burnt by fire, been abused, scalding burns, what have you. And that's where I met Brother Lima when I was at a Redmond symposium, when I was our 5th district burn foundation coordinator. It was that 3 cents per cap that was approved, I think, in 2008 at a convention, or a convention prior. So I've known him for a long time. We hit it off right away. Before him or I were talking about running for anything. And I've got to know him subsequently over the years. Great dude, really is. Greg, Brother Markley, I've known since I've been president with state and provincial association meetings. Greg's very capable, very smart, really smart. I've worked with Greg on a number of issues when it comes to pension, Medicare supplement, and other things. Brother Jake LaMunda, I don't know that well, but I can tell you when I ran for governor in 2018, they supported me, and the Officers Association, UFOA, supported me. I had no problems with Jake, not that it matters, but me and Jake get along great. So I guess my point is that I can work with anybody, and it's my job to do that. The members decide. That's why I don't think you've seen any candidate, me or Brother Kelly, link up or run as a ticket with anybody, because the members actually, I believe, should decide. You'll never see me get involved with a district vice president race. I will never go to a district vice president race and call another member a rat. I won't do that. I won't be involved in any district vice president races because the members should decide. And when it comes to DVP races, the members of that district should decide without any encumbrances from the top level, or GP or GST. And I believe that to be the case as well in this race. The members are going to decide who they want to be their GP. as well as the GST. But just so you know, to answer your question, I'm going to work with anybody. And I already have a good working relationship with all three of them.
Thank you.
All right. So I think we got a question over here. Tim Hunter, I know you messaged me in the chat. I don't see a question in here, but I think you wanted to hop in and say something. Tim, did you have a question? Perfect.
Yes. How are you doing, Mahlon?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, good, good. You got me with one of your things. I was going to ask you if Brother Hintz knew you were a Bears fan, but you beat me to it.
He
Called
knows.
yourself out. Okay. Okay. On a more of a moving forward kind of note, have you, over the years, you've been a firefighter a long time, are there any issues that you think legislatively the IAFF would benefit from by trying to push an agenda? Or do you have an agenda, I guess, legislatively that you'd like to go to Washington with if you were general president?
Yeah. So if you go to my website at mitchellforiaff.com, shameless plug. I guess it's not shameless because this is my town hall, but if you go to mitchellforiaff.com, you can see our Fresh Start plan as well as the legislative agenda. First and foremost, I believe that every local within our union should have the ability to bargain over hours, wages, and working conditions, and health and safety. So collective bargaining is, in my opinion, number one. And there's a couple reasons for that. I believe those that actually have collective bargaining rights should lead the charge in making sure that others have it. And those that don't currently have collective bargaining rights, that we change the conversation. And what I mean by that is that we are always, those who have collective bargaining rights and those that have civil service protections or handbooks, we're always waiting for the next, attack to come at us, whether it be pensions or FLSA. We need to change that conversation to always fighting and be on the offense, changing it for our members that don't have collective bargaining and saying, no, we have collective bargaining, but we want our other brothers and sisters to have it as well. As I said earlier, I have a great relationship with Joe Biden. He's been at this for a very long time, obviously. Kamala Harris, I already talked about her. It's not me name dropping. I think we all can agree that the next general president of our great union should have a great relationship with the incoming administration. So collective bargaining is key. And we need to, all these elected officials, Democrats and Republicans, they come to our memorials, they come to our funerals, they come and pat us on the back at our graduations, they come to our retirement parties and give us a stupid plaque and say, thank you for your service and God bless you, you're a hero. We're not asking for that. What we're asking for them to do in Congress is to vote the right way when it comes to our health and safety for us and our families, Democrats or Republicans. So yeah, that's the first and foremost, is getting collective bargaining passed for every local in our union. We were this close to getting it. It was a Democratic Congress that actually screwed it up. It was one Senate Democrat that screwed it up because he never voted for a military appropriations. And it was a military spending bill. And he voted it down. And he said, I was at the meeting actually when he said that he didn't know that our national collective bargaining bill was attached to it. And he voted it down. That can't happen. We have two bills right now in Congress, one from the National Collective Bargaining Bill from the IAFF and one from AFSCME. And the way we get it passed right now is we have a friendly Congress, in my opinion. If we can't conjoin it and make companion bills at the federal level, then we need to ask AFSCME, AFL-CIO, SCIU, NEA, AFT to stand back and actually let us go first. Because we're always there when the fight is not even necessarily affecting us. So that's what I would do. Make sure our stakeholders are there backing us up on our play. Two, when it comes to our cancer prevention, we need to stack the meeting like the IAFF did when it came to NFPA 1710, looking at 3, 4, 5, or 6 on a rig, time to task analysis, low, medium to high hazards, and what it takes for us to be safe as firefighters and paramedics. So then in turn, we can make our communities safe. The IAFF were the catalysts in actually making those consensus standards raised. We can do that. We need to do the same thing when it comes to cancer prevention. The cancer registry that the IAFF got passed 3 years ago probably now, is a great first step for big data, for us to get big data for how our members are actually contracting cancer. But we need to take it a step further when it comes to our PPE. And now science is changing where we know that actually the flame retardants that are on our gear are actually permeating through our skin or permeating through the gear into our skin and slowly giving our members cancer. We need to work with manufacturers. One, hold them accountable, and two, make sure that we are working with their engineers and the manufacturers to make sure that we are at the front lines of making sure that our members are not contracting cancer from the very gear that's supposed to protect us. When it comes to the Center of Excellence, it's a great, great resource. We've had now, I think, actually 9 of our members that went out to the Center of Excellence and, in their words, it saved their life. We have a lot of work to do. When our members are taking their own lives, and they both suck, but when we're losing members more from taking their own life than we are in the line of duty, doing our jobs, fighting fires, car accidents, or EMS calls, that's an issue that we all can agree on. And I know Brother Kelly can agree on that as well. We need to do everything we can to make sure our members are not taking their own lives. I would make sure in California we get the Center of Excellence open up, which is already in the works. I would also make sure that we get the one open up in Canada and working with their partners to get that open up. But we do that by actually working together and getting in front of what's happening right now when it comes to PTSI and PTSD. I will also want to make sure that we pass a bill that will require municipalities and workers' comp carriers that work for municipalities and states and provinces to pay for the behavioral health treatment that our members need. It's time for us, and IAFF, in my opinion, has done a great job of doing it, but we need to take it a step further and keep pushing the envelope to make sure our members are open and honest about our behavioral health. We're always talking about our physical health, but our behavioral health as well. I would actually work at an insurance plan, a healthcare plan that the IAFF can administer, that our current active duty members can be a part of, as well as our retired members. Not every one of us has retiree health insurance. 75% of our locals and our members don't pay into Social Security. We need to make sure that, I believe that the IAFF's done great with Aetna and Medicare supplement coverage, but take it a step further and actually have a healthcare plan that we administer as IAFF. Now that's a big, big deal, but we can do it. And that's a big idea, but we can accomplish it. But we can only accomplish it together. And I believe we also need to get the bill that's out of Ohio. Again, I've talked about this earlier, but it's a game changer. Senator Brown out of Ohio has a bill that allows public safety officers to buy into Medicare at age 55. That's a bill that's currently in Congress. If we can't get that passed, I actually believe we should get it passed this year after all the dust settles with everything going on. That's something that we should be able to get passed right now, this year in 2021. That's a game changer for our members. It's going to change the trajectory of our members retiring. Because as we all know, for those of you that don't have true retiree health care, my local does not. We have something that offsets the cost, an RHS 457 plan that offsets the COBRA amount. But having the ability to buy into Medicare at age 55 will allow our members to retire with dignity, one, have our pensions intact, and not spend half our pension allotment or annuity on our health insurance. It's a game changer. So that's something that I believe we can get past right away. Our pensions, FLSA, you look at some of the judges that have been put in place in the last 4 years at the federal court level, and I do not see them agreeing with us when it comes to FLSA challenges on how we get overtime. So those are some of the things that I would do, and those are some things that are on my political and legislative agenda for the IAFF.
All right.
Tim, it looks like you're like in a cabin. That's a nice house.
I live with my wife.
That's good.
All right, let's hop to the next question here. This is from Wesley Vaughn. How can the IAFF strengthen the individual state associations so we as a union become strong, or so we as a union become a stronger union as a whole?
How can the IAFF strengthen state associations?
Individual state associations, yes. And apologies, Wesley, if you want to ask your question or you have a follow-up to that, we can get you on a video as well.
Let's let Wesley ask us. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Brother Mahlon, nice talking to you. Loved your speech up in Seattle, by the way.
Thank you.
Just, I mean, as a whole, if we can get our state associations a little stronger, instead of having some of these big locals, like down here in Texas, we have a few big locals that are only in their international, a few big cities, not in the state as well. Don't you agree that if we have a stronger state as well, that can help some of our local fights here? And how can you, because I remember you talking about yours up there in Wisconsin, building yours back up from losing, the bigger locals. How can we get those guys back in the states to help us at a state level as well? How can you help with that?
Well, I obviously believe in state associations, being a state president, and I'll just tell you, the rubber, in my opinion, the rubber meets the road at the local level, and subsequently at the state level, and then at the federal level within the IAFF. It requires trust, and our state association is not better than any other state association out there. Just to be clear. But what it requires, I believe, is just open and honest discussion about where every state association is at. It requires locals to see the need and the benefit in being involved in the state association, which has to come from the state association. And it requires a true understanding about internal politics. And a lot of times, from what I've seen over time, is that locals, big or small, that get out of state associations, a lot of times it's about personalities. It's actually not about the issues. It's about a local, not necessarily feeling the need to be in a state association because, they can do their own thing. And we had that here in Wisconsin. And I think that's indicative of the entire country and provinces as well. But what we can do as the international principal officers is to back up our state associations. It's the same thing when it comes to, and not getting off topic here, but when it comes to the AFL-CIO, a lot of our members don't believe we should be part of the American Federation of Labor or Congress of Industrial Organizations and the CLC. But you have to understand that we're bigger and we're better when we work together. And that and this sounds like hyperbole, but to me, it's real. That's why I'm saying it. Like, we're better when we work as a unit and as a team. We shouldn't always agree. We're not supposed to, but when we work together, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. And everything, if we do, it's a member-oriented decision. Like when we brought Milwaukee in, it wasn't easy. It started back, it was a 4-year project to bring Milwaukee in. It didn't just happen overnight. It was not just me. It was 2 presidents. Actually, we started with 3 presidents in Milwaukee to bring them in. And they were out 26 years prior to, and we would all talk about it, like, we don't even know why you guys are out. And we would go back to the historians and whatnot, but even their judgment was cloudy. So we're thinking, like, why aren't you guys in? Well, we never have been. Why should we be in? That's where the rubber meets the road. We have to actually show our worth as state associations. It's not always easy. It's not always pretty. But I believe that the president of the IAFF can help in bridging the gap with those conversations and bringing bigger locals in to state associations and understanding and them realizing the need of being part of the state association. And I also believe that it requires IAFF giving more credence and more leeway to state associations. Because if you think about it, I mean, the IAFF does great things. Don't get me wrong. When it comes to statewide politics, it's the state associations that are actually getting laws passed, that are getting tighter and better presumptions passed at the state level. It's associations that are actually getting civil service protections passed. You look at what happened in South Carolina last year. It was a state association getting some sort of occupational benefit to members passed. It was a state association. IAFF was there and backing them up, which is their job. But it was the state associations getting that done. Our PTSI bill here, we're going to get passed here shortly. We consulted with the IAFF on the best way to write legislation, but we did it. It's the state association that's getting it done for all of our members. So again, it's recognizing a need. It's our job as state association leaders to convey that message to all of our locals. And you got to get out of the way. It's easy to say, and I'm not perfect at it. Don't get me, please, I'm not trying to say that. But it's easy to say everyone should be in, but you have to show your worth. And you have to get outside of personalities and talk about the issues. The IAFF can help broker and mediate deals. I don't say deals, but broker conversations between bigger locals and small locals and the state association leaders to get that done, and provincial associations. I believe that's how the IAFF can help.
All right, looks like we have another question. This is coming from Corey Wilson. Corey, do you want to take the floor?
Sure. I guess my question just follows up what Mahlon was talking about earlier about the collective bargaining for all, and how we're going to unify everyone. And we talked about the politics of everything and how the membership is so divided. The issue is this: is we want to fight for collective bargaining for all, and we believe in collective bargaining for all, but we have members in our own locals in our own states who don't appreciate it. They don't get it. And it's, what you said earlier about voting your job. So yeah, I guess, is there a plan for that? Is there something else, as far as uniting all of us and then making that push for collective bargaining for all? Because I agree that all of us together, we're stronger, but those states, especially in the South, that don't have collective bargaining, I also know the way they vote, and that's a problem. So other than education, is there anything else that you envision the IAFF doing?
So if we had and I learned this from another union leader, but I love it. If we had say our international convention was broadcast to all of our members, and the members that cared want to watch, and we had all our delegation stand up in the middle of the room. Some of you've probably heard me say this, but you got to hear it again. I'm sorry. We had all our delegations stand up in the middle of the room, and I said, we're going to ask you 6 questions. And depending on the answer, it's only a yes or no. You got to go to the left or you got to go to the right. We all stand up in the middle of the room when we say, okay, if you believe that a woman should have a right to choose, if you believe that a woman should be able to do whatever she wants with her body, it's between her doctor, and who her God is. So abortion, go to the left. So we'd have 50% of our members go to the left. Let's say if we had 2 members or we had 2,000 members in the room, doesn't matter. So half our members go to the left, half go to the right. If you don't believe that they should have a woman's right to choose, go to the right. 50-50, let's say. All right, everybody come back to the middle. If you believe that the Second Amendment allows you to have any weapon that you want, high capacity magazine, bump stocks, AR-15, AK-47, high capacity, anything you want, any rounds you want, go to the left. Most of our members probably would go to the left. A lot of them would. Some would go, or if you don't believe that there should be some sort of provision that you can't just have assault rifles, go to the right. Some would go to the right. All right, come back to the middle. If you believe that a person should be able to love who they want to love, and it has nothing to do with you, because you're going to marry and love who you want to love. So same-sex marriage, right? Go to the left. Some would be okay with that. Go to the right. Some would say, no, my religion doesn't allow that. All right, come back to the middle. But now, if you believe that every member and every local that's in this room should have the ability to sit down with their employer in their municipality and talk about hours, wages, and working conditions, go to the left. Like, I hope we would get 100% of our members to go to the left. And if you don't believe it, go to the right. I don't think we would get anybody to go to the right. All right, come back to the middle. If you believe that there should not be any elected official that is allowed to raid your pension fund, because that's your only means of retirement security, and that there's laws in place that doesn't allow them to do that, go to the left. I know every member will go to the left for that. No one will go to the right. So you get my point. There's the last question is about healthcare and health insurance. So again, brother, I know education, it seems that, we can educate our members all we want, but it's not going to matter. It does matter. We have to educate our membership. And we have to get out there in a real way and talk to our members. And we have to talk to them frankly. It's not about gays, guns, and God. Like, if you want to vote the way you want to vote, that's fine. The union is telling you why we are supporting a certain candidate, because it's about your paycheck, your health and safety of you and your family. And we're not going to get everyone on board. I don't think we're going to please every member. There's no way that we're not like the rest of the country. We live in this country. We live in the US. We live in Canada. There's going to be arguments and disputes. The Firehouse Kitchen Table, as we all know, is a great place. We got lawyers. We got doctors at the table. I mean, we got everything at that table. It's amazing. Like, if you're getting divorced, you should go to the Firehouse Kitchen Table or Fire Hall Kitchen Table. They'll tell you how to get divorced. It's going to be really shitty advice, but they'll tell you. So, like, we're going to have those discussions and we're going to have those problems, but we're not going to get away from that. I'm not trying to say if I'm president, we're all going to sing Kumbaya and hold hands and say, well, now everything's grand and everything's great. What I'm saying is we need to be better, including myself, at educating our members about what the union is about. We get into place as local, state, provincial leaders, and we service our members. We've lost the ability and we've lost the component of organizing and galvanizing and educating our members, because we're so busy servicing our members, which is our job. And that's what they want us to do. But how well are we actually organizing our young members? How are we telling our young members as to, like, you know what, no Democrat, no Republican woke up yesterday and said, hey, I would help firefighters today. Your union fought for that. How often do we tell our young members that? Or do we just tell them, like, you know what, you're an idiot, come to a union meeting. If you don't, go screw yourself. So most of us say, let's be honest. It's our job as union leaders to get the message out to them and to get the message out to them the way they receive it. When I get in the firehouse, I remember me and another brother bringing, I don't know if it was a PlayStation, but a video game to the firehouse. We had one TV in the firehouse. We brought a video game to the firehouse. I mean, I would have thought, like, I killed one of the old timers, like, mothers. Like, they wanted to literally kill me. They didn't understand what the hell we were doing on the TV. They thought we were going to break the TV. They're like, you don't bring that damn games you guys play and you put that back in your room. If you're bringing it again, you're done. You're fired. It's the same thing we're doing now, right? Every member we have in the station, including us, a lot of times we're on our phones. I mean, you can go in a TV room or a day room and everyone's sitting in a recliner, taking our union break. And it's silence. Everyone's on their phone. No one's talking to each other. At the kitchen table, everyone's on their phone. The TV's on. We're on our phones. We don't even talk to each other anymore. So who's talking about the union? Nobody. And quite frankly, union meetings are boring as hell. You start out, okay, we're approve these minutes. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. No one wants to listen to that shit. So we gotta make it's not gonna be exciting stuff, but we have to educate our young people. And it's on us as union leaders to do that. It's not on them to come to us. It's on us to bring it to them and explain, sit them down. That's what happened to me. That's where I am, because an old timer who didn't even want me to be his rookie told me I have to go to union meetings. I actually thought it was my job to do it. We need to do the same thing and talk to these young people and explain to them where their benefits came from. And that's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. But we got to stop sitting around complaining about these young people don't care. They care. It's just different. I have a 17-year-old son and a 22-year-old daughter, believe me. And a lot of us have kids on the line. It's a challenge, but we can do it. That was a long answer again to a short question, brother, but.
Thank you.
All right, we got an email question. This is from Mike Mattern. What are your views on peer support and what are your ideas for moving it forward and improving the service delivered?
Peer support is near and dear to my heart personally. And when a lot of us here on the line are local officers, obviously, and we've had to talk with a member that I'll speak for myself. I've had to actually sit down with a member who has tried to take his own life. I've been as state president, I've been to more Suicide funerals than actual line of duty death funerals, like double. I helped start our peer support team here in my local 311. We've actually found success in using retirees to be our peer support team leaders that are respected on the job and that were respected on the job. And they have time and they actually appreciate having the opportunity to help our members one-on-one. Here at the state, we have a licensed practitioner, doctor on retainer that any one of our members can call at any given time. I don't get the report back. All I know is how many contacts we've had. I don't know who's called or what. We have a personal hotline. We have in our state what's called our membership assistance program. I think we have close to 30 or 40 members that are part of that have been through the IAFF training, as well as we have 2-3 trainings a year here just in our state to keep them going before COVID-19, of course. So peer support is important, and I think we can enhance that by getting it out there more regionally. The IAFF, I think, has actually been in front of this for a good amount of time. It's done a good job at it. The IAFF has, in my opinion. So I would enhance what they're currently doing. And I would also make sure that we get the regionalized trainings out there more for our locals that want to have peer support teams as part of their own local. It's important. It is hard to get started up though, because there is an amount of trust that is required to actually have our members trust another member to talk about their own personal issues and to make sure it doesn't come back to the firehouse or the fire hall kitchen table. So it requires trust and it takes time to build that up. It's not like you just flip the switch on, but it's something that I believe that we can make sure we get it out. Any local that we've had a couple of trainings here before COVID-19 here in Wisconsin and we've actually teamed up with Minnesota because it is important. So it's near and dear to my heart. And it's something that you heard me talk about earlier, but something that we should invest a lot of time and resources in. And the IAFF has done it. So like, I hate when I hear the term take back our union or that the IAFF sucks. The IAFF doesn't suck. The IAFF's doing a lot of good things right now. So let's make sure that we are enhancing the things that are going well and get rid of some of the BS and the internal fighting at the top.
Great. So Mahlon, I'm looking for a few more questions here. It doesn't look like there's any hands raised or questions in the chat. For the time being, folks, what we'll do is just a heads up. We will be sending out a recap email that will be going over some of the things that we spoke about throughout the evening. It also will have the link to our upcoming events. As of right now, we just have a happy hour tomorrow. That's on Thursday at 6:30. The event's on our Facebook if you'd like to join us. It is a fundraiser, but it's a good opportunity to just kick back and have a beer or cocktail or whatever you'd like. Also, if you liked what you heard on the call tonight, please help us out. Forward the email, make a call to another member that you have in your local or other locals in your area or region. The more help that you can do and the more personal conversations that we have about Mahlon's message, the more we'll be able to spread it. So we would appreciate it if you would do that as well. We'll also be sending out in the recap email a recording of this town hall that you'll have at your convenience. If you also want to look at some of the other town halls that we've done, you can go on Mahlon's YouTube page. If you just go on YouTube and type in Mahlon Mitchell, or we can actually just throw, Max, if you wouldn't mind throwing the YouTube page in the chat as well. That has every single town hall that we've had from the start of the campaign. Most are, similar stuff, but there are some different questions. And originally they were broken down by district, so you can take a look at those too. Or if folks are wondering, or want to participate or hear Mahlon talk, you can direct them to YouTube as well. So before we go ahead, it looks like we got a couple more questions that popped into the chat here. One is from Corey Wilson again. Corey, do you want to just ask your question over video?
Yeah, thanks. Sorry about that. Mahlon, you said earlier, you talked about getting your participation up in Wisconsin with reducing your fees, cutting the fat at the top or trimming the fat at the top. what's your plans? Obviously we have a virtual convention this year. What's your plans moving forward? Though, if you're elected, potentially you will be involved in planning 2 more conventions. Do you see it being more of a hybrid kind of in-person, something, with Zoom, or do you see something, let's reduce fees and try to make it more economical for members to get there? As you said, charge our vendors more, maybe get better deals with hotels. I'm not a huge believer in the virtual. I know it's what we have to do. It's just like electronic voting. I don't like it either. I have a lot of locals that want to do electronic voting, especially in my district here in Ohio, and I frown against it because I think it makes us weaker. Brothers and sisters won't come to union meetings because they're boring, but let's give them a chance to vote on every topic by email. And I just don't like that. If they want their voice heard, they need to come to the meeting. So I guess that's my question is, reduce the fees or kind of have a hybrid convention.
So just to go to your point about being more involved is, when we do it virtually, so we have our general membership meetings at my local, and this is pre-COVID-19. We had we started with like a web GoToMeeting.com, I believe, in like 14 or 15. Then we moved to a Facebook Live portion, a closed group. But you couldn't vote. You actually had to come to the meeting to vote, but you could be part of the meeting. And initially, I didn't allow any conversation, but then we allowed conversation via the people typing in, and then our communications director relaying it back to me. There is no replacement for in-person meetings. There just isn't. When you go to ALTS or you go to Ledge Conference or you go to the convention, it's not just what's happening on the floor or that's what's coming from the dais. It's what's actually the interaction you get with our other brothers and sisters, even at the bar and at dinners and everything else, when it comes to networking and talking to locals of different sizes across the country and across Canada. Because a lot of us, you find out, are going through some of the similar battles, and you actually learn a lot. I would be open to, if we're talking about post COVID-19 or whatever that means, which we all don't know what that means yet, but I would be open to actually, when it comes to our convention, looking at a possible hybrid and having our members be able to tune in via virtual mediums. But I don't know what that looks like. I'll be honest with you. I don't. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you or bullshit. I don't know what that looks like. And as far as fees go, I don't know what that looks like either. I would be open to something where you pay a certain fee for your delegate based on per cap. But then when you say, okay, any local of 100 and under in size pays $100 for their delegate. So you tell me like any local that's like 102 or 105 then pays the full $500. So I would be open to looking at something that has a step increase as to what our folks pay, but also our larger locals aren't going to like that either because they have more members. And by way of that, we're all paying the same per cap. But our large locals are also paying a little bit more because they have more members, but we're all paying the same per cap. So I would have to actually look at that. And what I would do, excuse me, Corey, your question choked me up. But I would look at having, and I hate committees, but I would look at a study committee of large or medium and small locals and see what we can do. I can tell you what we've done here in Wisconsin. We have a statewide conference, as I talked about earlier. We made it free for 2 members from every local. We also started a scholarship. I don't know what's wrong with it. We also started a scholarship. Sorry. We also started a scholarship program where locals that are 100 under size can put in for it, and we'll pay for them to go to ALTS. Their registration, their flight, and their hotel, and they can put in for it. We haven't denied anybody yet. And we've had, I think, 8 or 9 locals actually put in for that because it is expensive. If you go to ALTS or convention, we kind of budget about $2,000 a pop at a local level and at the state level, because by the time you pay all that before you even get on the floor or get any education, if you live in the Midwest where we live, going out to Phoenix or California or Florida, you're paying for a flight and you're paying for hotels. And I get it. No one wants to come to Wisconsin or Iowa or Michigan or Illinois in the winter, in January. But there are some ways that we can cut costs. And also, I think we can do a better job at bringing the education to our members. But when it comes to convention, which I think is your specific question, I would put together a study group to look at how we can make it more feasible and affordable for maybe a hybrid solution, or be able to have some step increases for our members to actually join. That's not me dodging the question. That's just what I would do.
No, and I just had a thought too. In the 8th district, we do our 8th district PEP event in Indianapolis, where the 5 states come together. And there, I guess it goes back to my question earlier about educating the members and reminding them it's not just about what goes on the conference floor. It's about that beer you have in the bar that night and networking. So I guess that was my thought, was if we get more members there, it's more networking. It's more guys with a voice. So thanks.
One thing I would like to do too, and this is totally off your question, but and I've said this in other town halls, and I really mean it, is that, right now the top 100 locals, when I say top 100 by way of size, they are flown, when they have new leadership put in place, they are flown out to headquarters in DC, paid for by the IAFF, to actually sit down, talk with every AGP and director about, whether it be governmental affairs or information technology, behavioral health. They're actually flown out there for a day and a half, to sit down with every AGP, understand what the IAFF is providing them, where their money's going, and have dinner with the GP and GSC. I would like to have every local have that opportunity. Now that's a big ask, and that's going to be budgeted over time and take time to get done. But I believe that helps bridge the gap for all of us. It helps the general president, for their members to be and elite local leaders, every local, to be able to go back and convey that back to their membership and say, like, look, I've seen the IAFF, I felt it, touched it, seen it. Headquarters is good, it's sound, or even if it's not sound, but I've seen it, right? And this is where our money's going. And that would only help to bridge the gap and that disconnect that I believe that's actually there between our members that are actually doing the work of this union and the IAFF headquarters and what the IAFF is actually doing. Because there's a lot of work being done at the IAFF, a lot. And I don't know if they're always so good at actually selling themselves or conveying the message, unless you're a local leader that uses it a lot as to what the IAFF is providing. But I think that would help bridge that gap.
All right, looks like we have a question here in the chat. This is from Jason Lech or Leck. I'm not sure, Jason, but Jason, we can kick your question over to you. Max, can we get Jason on?
Maybe Jason left.
All right, we maybe.
I see there's another hand from Joseph Markham. I think he's had his hand up for a little bit.
Oh, perfect. Let's go ahead and start there. Joseph, you have the floor.
Good evening, Brother Mitchell. I'm Joe Markham, Secretary Treasurer of Arlington Professional Firefighters, Local 1329 here in Texas. We've endorsed you already, and I just want to say thanks for doing this town hall tonight. I've had members reach out asking about this race in particular, and since your opponent has the resources to do direct member engagement, and for whatever reason you haven't chosen to do that, they didn't even realize that there was more than one person in the race. So when we endorsed you, we were met with questions about why we endorsed you. What's your plan for future direct member engagement, and how do you recommend that we best provide information about you?
So when you say direct member engagement, are you talking about emails and other things, or?
Yes, sir.
So I've chosen to, we've sent some emails, and we actually had a Zoom where any member could join. I think we had 300 plus members on, maybe more than that. We have not sent every email to all members. We've done some to all members when it comes to direct member engagement. We could do more of that. But I also believe that we should talk to the leaders of every local. I'm not in the business, so I don't think it's right that we get a dust up of members at a particular local so that they in turn then put pressure on their elected local officers to do a certain thing. Maybe I'm wrong in that summation. But I think there's a reason why we have elected leaders at every local and every state and every province. And it's upon us as the leaders and as delegates to actually provide the information to our members back at home. And I think part of the problem, what we're seeing right now, quite frankly, is that there's been, GSC Kelly has done a good job of getting our members fired up, but with low information. It's not giving both sides of what actually is happening. And again, divide and conquer works. It works in politics. It works in partisan politics all the time. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing our number two, quite frankly, go in and get our members, giving them just a little tidbit of information, talking about taking back our union. That's divisive language in its nature. And of course that sounds great. Take back our union. Well, ask our members that are mad about it, who we're taking it back from, and what actually is going on. And they won't be able to provide you an answer. I've had one of my members actually make a motion and talk about actually little old Madison, Wisconsin, 500 members, close to 500 members, get out of the IAFF. Call me and say we should stop paying dues until we figure out what's going on. Well, I was able to tell them what was going on. And that's how the process should work. There's a reason why we have elected officers. There's a reason why we have a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. I know I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but I believe that there's a reason why me as running for a state or general president, to be the general president of all our members, that the information should disseminate between you, the local leaders. And that's how I would work if I were your president. I've got many calls from many members across our two great countries we serve that have said, hey, I want to hear about you, and I hear you're running. Why are you better than Ed Kelly, and yada, yada, yada. And I tell them, and I talk to them directly if they call me. But I also let them know that I'm going to talk to their local president and let them know I got a call from brother from local A to let them know, like, hey, I just talked to one of your brothers from, I just want to let you know, because I'm not trying to go behind the backs of our elected, constitution elected principal officers to try to win an election. To me, that's not right. And I'm not going to compromise what I believe in to win an election. Some will do that. I won't. I believe we are elected for a reason. We are the ones that are supposed to disseminate the information. And to me, that's true transparency. So that's why I have not reached out to every member and just spread information that would get them dusted up to come to you as local leaders and say, hey, why aren't we with Mahlon Mitchell? Because he said that Harold Shapeberger is a crook, or he said that Ed Kelly is dishonest. No, I'm going to go through you, the local leaders. And that's what I'm going to do as your general president. So I would ask you, brother, there should be a concern that there's another candidate that's talking to all of your members and not talking to you directly. I would have more concern about that than what I'm doing as far as not talking to your general membership.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Mahlon, I'm looking for a few more hands. It doesn't look like we have any at the moment. And it doesn't seem like we have any new questions in the chat. So once again, folks, if you didn't get, or if you think of a question after the fact, please just shoot an email over to mahlon@mitchell4iff.com. Recording of this town hall will be available, and all the recordings from every single town hall that we've had are available on Mahlon's YouTube page. Just type in Mahlon Mitchell on YouTube, and it should be pretty easy to find. If you liked what you heard tonight, please help spread the word. As we send out emails, if you could forward them to other folks or pick up the phone and let locals in your area know about your support for Mahlon, we would really appreciate it as we can continue to build momentum heading into the convention here. I think that's about all we have wrapped up. Mahlon, if another question comes up or another question I see in the chat, I'll be sure to flag it, but I'll kick it over to you for whatever you want to end with.
Thanks, Taylor. And thank you all for joining. And just so you know, remote, one thing I guess that it's not even good, but one thing that COVID-19 has taught us is how to work remotely. And I'm a big fan of in-person, looking at a person in their eye, shaking hands, and that's how you get business done. But, I learned very early being a local president and being part of a new generation coming in, not being too old, but also not being too young. I'm 43 years old right now, but getting on a job at 19 and understanding how the old guard was. And then now I'm part of the old guard, it seems, and how we communicate best with our members. Things like this, like Zooms like this, I would do if I was fortunate enough to be your general president, I would do all the time because it's a great way to get the information out. It's a great way to talk to local leaders. It's a great way to talk with our membership all out there on the front lines and the men and women that do the job. But I truly believe in the process. I truly believe in, it's not in the hierarchy, but the way things are supposed to be done. And that is talking to local leaders and elected leaders that are going to disseminate the information to their membership. When I became president, one thing I wanted to do, we have 5 caucuses in Wisconsin. One thing I wanted to do was actually get outside of just going to the caucus meetings, which are regionally based. And there's 10 or 11 locals that come to our caucuses in Wisconsin. State president will give their report, move on. I believe actually going out to the members. So I made sure that within the first year and a half, I visited all 62 of our locals and went to their general membership meetings, went to their station and stayed overnight and actually talked to our members. So I would do things like this remotely all the time. I think it's important, and it's vitally important, even more so today. But in conclusion, there's never a time to be united or be divided, I'm sorry. But we are divided now more than ever. And I think a lot of it is because of a lot of the dust-ups and the misinformation that's going to our members and what we're seeing in society. But I'm asking you to join me in helping to unite, to defeat what's dividing us, and helping to not take back our union, but making our union bigger, better, and stronger for the future. And in my opinion, we only do that together as a united IAFF. I want to be that servant leader when it comes to being our general president. I'm there to work on your behalf. A lot of people say that, but to carry it out is different. I want to actually work for you. And I implore you to call any local president here in Wisconsin of our 60 plus locals and ask them how we work here. I'm not perfect. Our state association is not perfect, but us working together as firefighters, working on behalf of other firefighters and paramedics, that, my friends, is perfect. And that one question we have to ask ourselves is, what kind of union could we be if we get back to just doing everything and making every decision we made at the International Executive Board a member-oriented decision, a member-based decision? That's why I'm running for general president. I'd love to have your support. I'd love to have you on our webpage or on our social media platforms. More importantly, I'd love to have your vote at convention. This is going to be the most important election of our lifetime. We have not had a general president election since 1988 contested. It's going to shape the very long-term future for our great union. I'd love to have your support. We need to reimagine our union, turn it upside down, turn it inside out, and look at it differently. And I would do that, but I would do that together, not in the New York Times, not in the Washington Post, not in these damn blogs that don't give a shit about us. I would do it together as one united IAFF, and we would do it together as a union and make it better for the brothers and sisters that are come after us. So I thank you for your time. I believe we need a fresh start at the top and a clean slate to get back to taking care of our members, the men and women who are on the street every day. So thank you for your time. we're going to sign off now. I'm sure we'll have more opportunities to talk and chat. And my number, I will give it to everyone. I've done it on every call. My number is 608. I'm sure Max is going to get it in the chat before I can even say it, but 608, there it is. See? That's why you hire good people. 608-698-2333. 608-698-2333. Now, a lot of you have heard me say it, but those last 4 digits are Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen's numbers. That's when you could pick your own number back in the day. Big Bulls fan. Anyway, please call me with any questions. Call me with anything you think I should be doing or people I should be reaching out to. Or just call me if you want to chat. If I don't answer, obviously I'll call you back. But text me as well. But love to have all your support. And even if you don't support me, and if you support Brother Kelly, and if I'm your general president, I'm going to work my ass off for you. So thank you all, and we're signing off now. And thank you all for attending again. Talk to you soon. Stay safe out there.